Hi, it's Don Taylor. Okay, since we're doing this testimony time, we here now, I'm just gonna get some stuff off my brain. So I spoke to my husband earlier, and to recap, if you ain't never heard any of these testimonies, my husband is a federal inmate, and this is our jailhouse journeys that I'm sharing with y'all through testimony. And so he has been incarcerated now for over 700 days, 24 months, 2 years. Okay. And this is not the first time he's ever been incarcerated, but this is the first time he's done the journey with me. Okay. And first time he's been in a federal facility also. So, we're having a relationship inside of the challenges of incarceration is a whole different beast. It's a whole different situation that they don't cover in how-to books. And so I just have been feeling a impression from the Holy Spirit for a while now to do little video diaries of this journey. Um, we're still in the beginning of this. We don't really know what it's going. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, he knows. Holy Spirit knows. I don't know yet. He ain't revealed it all to me. I'm just walking the baby steps of being obedient, and we'll see what transpires from that. Um, to God be the glory. So, uh, earlier today, I received a phone call from my husband, and he said that I have been approved for visitation. Oh, that is a big deal. Um, COVID changed the way visitations are done in most institutions. And so, what used to be like a norm for people to go and physically see their loved ones became not the norm. Uh, they introduced kiosk. They introduced video visits, even though these were things that have been around. I meant like as a mainstream, like this is the mainstream now in most institutions that you have um, tablets. Inmates have tablets, or they have a kiosk in their facilities, or both. And you do video visits with them through that, which are cool. It's awesome, easy access, uh, sometimes 12-hour access. You don't have to stand in line. You don't have to go through a metal detector. You don't have to get approved or whatever. I recently did my hair and there's hair somewhere on my lips, so I might be picking at it. You don't have to do a visitation form. You don't have to do any of that stuff, but seeing somebody on a video is definitely different than being in their physical presence. Um, my husband was arrested in June of 2021. I did not see him physically until he had court in, no, wait. From June of 2021, the next time I saw him physically was when he had surgery. I'm trying to trail. Oh, wait. I had it right the first time. He had court in November of 2021. So we saw each other. You know, you can't, in federal court, they got U.S. Marshals that bring you in. You can't sit in the first couple of rows of the area because you can't be too close to the inmates. So you have to scoot back or whatever. So I saw him through the courtroom we did this whole miming thing and mouthing words to each other and eye contact thing. He was very sick at that time. He had a hernia that was doing its most, and so he was very sick. He also was had relapsed, and so uh, he was very sick with drug addiction as well. And so he just wasn't the healthiest, but we did get to see each other and mouth, I love you, across the courtroom and giggle and all this different stuff. Now, then in December, he had surgery. So then I saw him actually at the hospital. It was a whole God moment. Um, we just, I guess, Jesus did that thing he did or does when he, interrupted the fire and uh, the lions' mouths were being held shut and all that kind of stuff. Where my husband was recovering from surgery, and you're not supposed to have access to inmates while they're at the hospital, but we miraculously, Holy Spirit wise, like it was like when Peter was led out the jail by an angel and rescued that time. It's in the Bible anyways. It was kind of that situation. Like we didn't we didn't know we were breaking rules. We didn't lie or anything. I didn't lie anything. I kept telling people, my husband's an inmate. I just want to check on how he's doing. He had surgery today. And each level I got to, people were like, oh, well, you can go see him. And I was like, are you sure? And, they were like, yeah. And the nurses tell me where to go. I go up there and an officer is sitting with him and they come to the door. And I said, well, I just wanted to check and see how he was doing. The nurses sent me up or whatever. And the officer that was sitting with him was like, well, come on in. You check on him. I'm like, are you sure? He was like, yeah, come on in. So he said, I'll give y'all some privacy. Okay. And he like leaves the room. And so we got to see each other, touch each other, kiss each other, all that. And it was crazy. And then nurses come in, they're like, who are you? And my husband's like, this is my wife. And they're like, you're not supposed to be in here. And the officer's like, I thought you were the caseworker. And I was like, I never said that. He was like, I know, I just assumed it. And I'm like, I don't know why you would assume that. And so then the officer was like, this never happens. I've never had a situation where someone got through. Like, I've never done this. This is weird. And he was like, he was seriously freaking out because, like, he probably was seeing his whole career flashing before his eyes or something. But he was seriously freaking out. I was like, just blame Jesus. It was a whole Jesus thing. And he was like, looking at me, and then he was like, I guess so. And so anyway, he was like, there might be an incident because of this, da 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 da. We're gonna have to move him, all this different stuff. I'm like, okay, and he's explaining, the security risk of family or friends knowing where he's at, just in general, not my husband specific, but in general, because people could try to break people out or hurt them or whatever, all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'm not on that page, but oh, I got you. Anyway, so it was a whole God thing. Um, so that was, and so I saw him then. That was December 2021. After his surgery, he got moved to Logan County here in Oklahoma, and he was there for the remainder of the 2 years, for like a year and a half. And then maybe sometime in, what was it? I think it was the beginning of 2023 when I went to go visit him on the kiosk. The kiosks were not working. And they were just messing up. Now, sometimes regular inmates at the Logan County Jail or at a county jail, that they'll allow them to have the visits that are between the glass, where you can't physically touch the person, but you can physically see the person, like old school, like they have in movies and everything like that. So, but because my husband was a federal hold, he was not allowed to access to those type of visits. And so one day, the kiosks aren't working. They keep messing up. They keep messing up. This is normal. That's a typical thing to happen in the jails, is the kiosks do what they want to do. It's technology or whatever. Nobody can fix them because the company is, remote, and they don't really care. And the officers who are at the jail don't really have access to do anything but reboot it. Uh, so that sometimes works, sometimes don't. Usually does not work. So if you've driven all that way to see your loved one and you sit up in that visitation room or whatever with the little kiosk, and it just don't want to act right, you just don't get to see your loved one, no matter how long you've driven or from where or what situation it is. So it was one of those days, and my husband was telling one of the guards, like, hey, these machines keep messing up and the visits keep going down. And my wife, drove up here to see me and stuff, like, what's up? And one of the guards said, well, I can pull you in the room and y'all can see each other through the glass. He said, okay. So he comes out and gets my ID and stuff. And sure enough, he pulls me back, and I got to see him for the first time in like 6, 7 months or something. And yeah, almost a year maybe. I'm trying to remember. I saw him yeah, it was basically a year. So it was December 21 when I saw him in the hospital, and it was like 2022, the end of 2022, when I saw him in through the glass. It had been basically a year. And I've seen the movies where people, they see their loved one through the glass and they put their hands up against the glass, and each person has their hand on one side as if they're touching, and it's just the glass. And then they cry and they act all like sentimental. I've seen these movies, I've seen that stuff, and I'm like, that is so ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's a whole freaking glass. Like, you can't even touch the person. Like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? So I get in there. He pulls me. It's like a little bitty hallway with a couple of rooms or a couple of spaces with little dividers, just like you see, like I said, in the movie, but it was like a super small space. And so I not only can see him, but he's like walking to the glass to sit down as they walk me in and sit me down. And so I can see like all of them. And I just start crying. And I put my hand up on the glass instinctively, and he puts his hand up on the glass. So ridiculous. But it was like it was legit sincere. And just the idea of, like, even though there's glass, there's like, Paul says in the Bible, there's no distance in the spirit when he writes to one of the churches, Corinth or one of them, I don't know, remember right now, but he says there's no distance in the spirit. Although he's not there physically with that church, he's there with them, spiritually. And it's facts, and we had already experienced that with the video visits and letters and phone calls, that we just have a connection where, God has created us spiritual beings to be able to connect with each other spiritually from distance, like where it shures up that timeline, that, you know, um, metaphysical world. It changes it. And so we have experienced that plenty of times of being connected and, without actually being physically connected. And so, but yeah, I bawled like a baby, bawled like a total lunatic baby. And we only got like a 15-minute visit. And I'm sure the first 7, 8 minutes was me like snot and all of it, just all of it. Just I could not, I could not hold it in. Like it was incredible, super crazy, incredible. And what's wild is that kind of was legit the first time we had seen each other with him being totally sober. When he had his surgery, he was in recovery, so he was still a little bit sedated when we saw each other. So some of it was like a dream to him. And when he saw my face, he was like, "Are you here? Are you really here?" And then he touched me. And when we saw each other in the hospital, and he was like, "You're really here?" And I was like, "Yeah." And but still, because he was sedated, he was like, yeah, it was not like totally real to him. So the crazy part was, um, this is the first time in almost 2 years when we saw each other through the glass that he had seen me like just straight up sober, basically. Because when we were together out here in the real world, a lot of that time he was under the influence, so yeah. Although he's pretty much the same regardless, but a sober mind is still a sober mind, you know. God still gives you different it's difference, whether that sobriety is a lack of narcotics, alcohol, or sin. A sober mind is a sober mind. So anyway, seeing him now that I've been approved for visits at the federal facility, those visits are in person, no glass, no kiosk. Like you legit get to hug your person, you get to kiss your person, you get to hold their hand. That is amazing. And it's like, I always tell my husband he gives me pop rocks. 24/7 he gives me pop rocks. It's not butterflies. It's just straight up like I'm, just consumed a 5 pound bag of pop rocks. All through my body, all through my like everything is just like "Da, da, 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 da." But this is like sonic. This is like straight up fireworks. Like the pins and needles and the excitement and the anticipation and everything of that to be able to hug him again. Because if you've seen my other video, I explained that the first time I hugged my husband when we very first met, it changed my life. I had never experienced anything like that. The first time I physically touched this man, I'd never experienced anything like that in my entire 40 something years on this freaking planet. So the thought and idea of being his arms again is something I can't even put into words. That man is my home. So, yep, that part. So, I will, after we have a visit, a successful visit, of course, I will keep y'all updated and do another testimony. But I just needed to break that down real quick and in a hurry. And we here now, y'all. We here now. Like legit. All right, have a good night.